everybody, my name is Eric Hopkins and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're finding me for the very first time or you are a returning viewer and have not yet done so, please click that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when I put up new content right here on this channel. So I've got a little bit of movie news that has dropped over the weekend, and I want to get into some of those articles right now. Let's start over here on Screen Rant with the fact that Real Steel director has determined to reunite Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman for a sequel. The Real Steel director Sean Levy wants to put an end to Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds' faux feud and reunite the two actors for a sequel. The 2011 sci-fi action film told the story of Charlie Kenton, a former boxer who was trying to make ends meet by robot boxing. When Charlie learned that he had a son, he decided to get custody, and the two bonded over the sport. Later, they discovered an obsolete sparring robot named Adam, who they used to enter competitions. Hugh Jackman starred in the lead role along with Anthony Mackie, Evangeline Lilly, and Dakota Goyo, which I thought was actually a great film, by the way. It's very underrated. I know a lot of people were like, oh, it's rock'em sock'em robots, but it actually had a lot of heart, and it had a good story along with it. Jackman and Reynolds have not shared the big screen since 2009 for X-Men Origins Wolverine, where the latter was first introduced as Wade Wilson, aka Deadpool. The two actors developed a notorious friendship and often displayed their rivalry on social media for fun. Aside from appearing in the superhero films, Jackman and Reynolds have Levy as another thing in common. The director's latest movie is Ryan Reynolds' sci-fi comedy Free Guy, which is coming into theaters this weekend on August 13th. If it were up to Levy, a dream project would be directing the two superstars together in one movie. In a recent interview with Comic Book, Levy said that he wants to reunite Jackman and Reynolds for a Real Steel sequel. According to Levy, a Real Steel 2 is something he's always discussed with Jackman, and it will be interesting if he could get Reynolds to star in it as well. Well, I'll say this, he said. Hugh and I definitely are we've never stopped feeling the love for Real Steel. It's almost like the volume has been increasing. Hugh and I were together literally last week talking about that, so I would never say never on that, a sequel for Real Steel. Additionally, I'm friends with Hugh, I'm friends with Ryan. I will get them together. Whether it's in a Real Steel or another movie, I will direct those two amazing guys and dear friends in one movie together. While it's been 10 years since Real Steel has been released, the sports drama is enjoying a renewed interest among audiences after it dropped on Netflix last year. It climbed the streaming platform's top 10 most viewed titles at the height of the pandemic. So developing Real Steel 2 now while the clamor is high is a great idea. The first movie was a huge commercial hit, earning almost $300 million at the box office, which is another reason why a sequel should be considered by Disney. So yeah, I thought that movie was a lot of fun. I haven't seen it in a while. I think I've only seen it once or twice, but I need to go back and check it out again and kind of give it a revisit here now that it's kind of been, getting into the news a little bit here. And of course, for a lot of years, fans have been clamoring to see Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman together, particularly in a Deadpool film, because Ryan Reynolds has always been clamoring about how he'd love to have, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine appear one more time in a Deadpool film. And of course, a lot of people feel like that's impossible because, spoiler alert, in Logan, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine died. But here's the thing. The MCU is now venturing into the multiverse and things like that, alternate dimensions, different timelines. So you bring Deadpool in via the multiverse and different timelines. Who's to say you can't pluck Hugh Jackman's Wolverine out of the Fox X-Men universe and bring him into the MCU timeline as well, if anything, for just one more movie? And who's to say maybe Wolverine couldn't even appear in an Avengers movie at some point? He's always said that if he had the opportunity to be in an Avengers film, he would have considered it, but he never thought that was actually a possibility, but now it is. So could Hugh Jackman possibly be coerced to come back as Logan one more time? Never say never. But in this case, a Real Steel 2 would be great on of its own, even if it doesn't have Ryan Reynolds in it as well. But Hugh Jackman coming back for Real Steel 2 could be awesome, and maybe it could be even a Netflix movie. Netflix seems to be very interested in this, and of course, they're shelling out a lot of money here lately to get all sorts of properties for their streaming service, so this could be no different. So I'd be excited to see it. Hopefully it'll come to us sooner rather than later. All right, let's move on to the second topic of this video, and of course, it also comes to us from Screen Rant, so let's go over here and check that out. Chronicle 2 is in development with a female lead in mind. Let's see here. Producer John Davis has confirmed that Chronicle 2 is in the works, that this time focusing on a group of female characters. Directed by Fantastic Four, or Fan-4-Stick, 2015's Josh Trank, 2012's Chronicle is a found footage movie that follows 3 high school students who develop telekinetic powers after coming into contact with a mysterious object. Starring Michael B. Jordan, Dane DeHaan, and Alex Russell, the film was well received by audiences and critics alike, and even received a Saturn Award nomination for Best Science Fiction Film. In an interview with Forbes, Davis revealed that long-standing, stagnating plans for Chronicle II are indeed moving forward. Set 10 years after the events of the first film, the sequel will now tell the story from the female point of view, suggesting Chronicle was one of the most profitable movies of his career to date. Davis teased that what else audiences can expect from the follow-up. And of course, he's talking about how, it's just going to be led by a female cast. And so, nothing wrong with that at all. Absolutely, in my opinion. There's going to be a lot of people online who's going to feel like, okay, they're trying to go woke and they're trying to do this stuff, bring in a full female cast. To me personally, if you tell a good story, I really don't mind either way, as long as you tell me a good, fun movie. That's all that really matters to me. Now, personally, I only seen Chronicle the one time, and of course, it propelled Josh Trank to superstardom until he ruined, his next few films, in particular Fan Four Stick, that came out in 2015. It was a reboot of the Fantastic Four franchise, and that failed miserably at the box office, and for good reason. It was just terrible. But Chronicle, it was a good movie at the time. I don't know if we necessarily need the sequel, regardless of who would be cast to star in it or whatnot. Of course, there's no details on who would be cast in it right now. I'm sure they would love to have Michael B. Jordan back, but I think the character died in the first film, so that's probably not going to happen. But Dane DeHaan, I can't remember exactly what happened to his character. I think he died too. I don't know, but his stardom, went up right after this movie too. And then of course the Amazing Spider-Man 2 happened, and of course he kind of fell back down to earth, and I've not seen him in anything since. But his Harry Osborn wasn't real good anyway. They just kind of tried to rush too much into putting him into the Hobgoblin too fast and things like that, in my opinion. But I digress. Chronicle 2, personally, I don't think I necessarily need it, but I'd be willing to check it out, but it's probably one of those things, to me, it would probably be suited better to go straight to a streaming service somewhere, whether that be Netflix or something like that. All right, let's move on to our third topic of the day, and of course, that comes to us from Collider. Hunger Games prequel film to start production in the first half of 2022. A prequel to the Hunger Games series that is in early stages of development, and Lionsgate hopes to start production in the first half of 2022. Based on Suzanne Collins' book, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the film will be about Coriolanus Snow? I think that's how you pronounce that. It's been a while since I've seen the movie. I know Snow, though. At 18 years old, before he would become the tyrannical president of Panem. The news comes from Lionsgate chairman Joe Drake, who notes that the film is targeted for a late 2023 or early 2024 release date, stating that pre-production is moving along really, really well. Additionally, Drake discusses the likely nature that the film will be theatrically released despite the pandemic. There's an audience that wants to come back to theaters. Well, so far, that's not been the case. We all want to go back, I think. It's just so many people are very skittish about that right now. I believe the market's going to come back. There's going to be a strong, robust platform for us to monetize our movies. The director of the previous Hunger Games movies, Francis Lawrence, will return to direct Ballad. Casting hasn't been announced yet, but Nina Jacobson and Brad Simpson return to the franchise as producers. Collins will be on the team too, and Michael Arndt, the Oscar-winning screenwriter of Little Miss Sunshine, will adapt the screenplay. Here's the synopsis of the book. It is the morning of the reaping that will kick off the 10th annual Hunger Games. In the capital, 18-year-old Coriolanus Snow is preparing for his one shot at glory as a mentor in the games. The once mighty House of Snow has fallen on hard times, its fate hanging on the slender chance that Coriolanus will be able to outcharm, outwit, and outmaneuver his fellow students to mentor the winning tribute. The odds are against him. He's been given the humiliating assignment of mentoring the female tribute from District 12, the lowest of the low. Their fates are now completely intertwined. Every choice Coriolanus makes could lead to favor or failure, triumph or ruin. Inside the arena, it will be a fight to the death. Outside the arena, Snow starts to feel for his doomed tribute and must weigh his need to follow the rules against his desire to survive no matter what it takes. So yes, like I said, it's been a while since I've seen the Hunger Games films. I actually like those movies. I don't remember a whole lot about the finale as much, other than the fact that how Snow meets his end. I thought that was great. I would be interested to check this out. I would like to see the Hunger Games movies again before I get back to watching a prequel film about the series. I'm not going to lie. I'm intrigued to maybe learn a little bit more about Snow's character before he becomes the president of Panem. So I think it's an interesting idea. It's kind of like along the lines of what the Lord of the Rings is doing right now. They're kind of going back and they're telling, animated series. The War for the Rohirrim is coming out. We're also getting a prequel series on Amazon that's costing $500 million to make. So there's a lot of, these, franchises who have kind of ran through their main main storyline are trying to go back and tell prequel stories and try to, milk that cow, so to speak, in Hollywood. If it can print money, they're going to go do it. So I think this is an interesting idea. So we'll have to wait and see what this series entails. Or this movie entails. So I think it'll be a great movie, hopefully, to explore, and we'll see exactly, sometimes prequels don't work out, but in my opinion, I think this idea is rich enough, and of course, it's based on a book, so we have the source material to play off of here, and I think it could very well be a good movie once it's released, but we'll have to wait and see, and it probably sounds like it'll be coming out in 2023 or 2024. All right, our last topic of the video here comes to us from The Direct, and of course, that is the fact that DC producer has teased that Justice League sequel or a reboot could be on the way. The DC Extended Universe is well on its way to exciting new adventures with its ranks, which continues with the release of the recently released James Gunn's The Suicide Squad that I did a review of on the channel, so go check that out as well. After rave reviews across the board for Gunn's first DC outing, hopes are high for more success with films like Jason Momoa's Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom and Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam next year, amongst others. Through all of this praise, however, there is still one lingering question that DCEU fans have regarding a particular big fish. When will we be getting a second Justice League movie, if we get one at all? After the disastrous results from 2017's team-up effort brought the second lowest grossing film in the DCEU, Zack Snyder's Justice League helped to restore a sense of hope in DC's iconic superhero group. However, with Snyder likely having left the franchise for good, and with numerous heroes getting their own stories over the coming years, there are no signs pointing to when Justice League will come to fruition, or at least the second version. One of DC's regular producers has now shared his own personal insight on this matter. During press rounds for The Suicide Squad, longtime DC producer Charles Roven spoke with The Hollywood Reporter about which DC films he's attached to produce in the future. While listing his past projects with Warner Brothers and DC films like Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, Roven said he would probably be a part of another Justice League down the road. However, he admitted that a follow-up to the 2017 team-up film is still, quote, a number of years away from beginning production. Analyzing Roven's quotes about the timeline for another Justice League outing, there are certainly a few factors to take into account. 2022 will hold releases for 4 DCEU movies, 2 of them for brand new characters coming into play, while 2023 holds Shazam! Fury of the Gods as its only movie to date. These are also come alongside canon series on HBO Max like John Cena's Peacemaker in 2022 and the presently undated Green Lantern Corps show with Finn Wittrock. With 2017's Justice League serving as the canon version of the story within the DCEU, crazy how they did that, Warner Brothers has a number of decisions to make in terms of how to follow its plot, especially with it being a critical and financial bomb. A number of years could mean that there won't be another Justice League movie until sometime into the mid to late 2020s. There's also a strong chance that this movie could be something of a reboot rather than a sequel, similar to what happened with James Gunn's The Suicide Squad this weekend. While Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, Jason Momoa's Aquaman, and Ezra Miller's Flash are likely set for more appearances, half the team is still quite the mystery in terms of their comebacks. Ray Fisher has made his feelings against Warner Brothers known, and he'll probably won't be back as Cyborg. While Henry Cavill's status as Superman is completely up in the air, rumors abound about whether or not we'll ever be seeing him again as the character, and Ben Affleck may be returning in 2022's The Flash, but the extent of his role is unknown, whether it may be a one-off or could they be setting up more. I think a lot of answers will be, given once we see The Flash in 2022. There's still the possibility of Warner Brothers adding new members to the team to fill the roster, but that will likely include some tough decisions across the board. Regardless of when this happens, the hope is that Warner Brothers can get the DCEU on track with its upcoming slate to deliver enough material for which another Justice League movie can continue a solid legacy. So yes, it sounds like DCEU and Warner Brothers at least have some sort of an idea of where they're going to be taking the Justice League moving forward. Again, the Flash movie in 2022 is going to reset the DCEU, or at least give it a soft reboot, so to speak, because the Flash is going to go back in time, and when he does, he's going to mess up the timeline. He's going to go to alternate dimensions and realities, and when he does this, certain characters may stay, like Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and the Flash, and certain characters like Henry Cavill's Superman and Ben Affleck's Batman may get replaced by alternate versions from other timelines. So much like the MCU, they're going to be playing with the multiverse a little bit in order to set their DCEU timeline straight, and hopefully that means eventually we will get another Justice League film. And when they do that, I'm hoping against hope at this point, after the tease that we got for Darkseid in Zack Snyder's Justice League, even though it's not considered official DCEU canon, it was awesome to see Darkseid on film. And to me, he should be the DCEU's Thanos that they should be going up against first. And of course, if you want to bring in other, universe threats and things like that after Darkseid, but I think he's the character you should be building up to as of right now. And I hope that's what they end up doing, moving forward whenever they decide to do a Justice League Part 2. Now, again, maybe you don't do that right away, and maybe the Darkseid character is a character you build up to over the course of 10 films over the next 10 years. It doesn't need to be the villain right away, because like the Zack Snyder Justice League that was on HBO Max now, even though it's 4 hours long, they did a good job of setting up Darkseid for future films. Now, granted, that was going to kind of come to fruition in Justice League 2 and 3 and the Snyderverse. That may not be the plans that Warner Brothers has for DC right now. I think the DC, future looks bright, actually, with all the movies they've got coming out over the next few years. They actually look to be a lot of fun with Aquaman 2. Wonder Woman 3 is going to be coming eventually. We're getting the Flash movie. We're getting Shazam 2. We're getting all sorts of good movies. Black Adam, which is another, highly underrated movie that's coming out. And of course, we just got the Suicide Squad, which despite the fact that it didn't make a whole lot of money at the box office opening weekend, most of that is due to the fact that it got released on HBO Max the same day with no additional cost or any premiere access. So that hurt its box office take. But it seems like the majority of fans and critics especially like the Suicide Squad. There's a few people who don't care for it. Even I was a little iffy on it at first, but I watched it a second time and I kind of, my thoughts changed a little bit. I ended up liking the movie, so definitely go check out my review right now. But I think DC's future looks bright, and if we get another Justice League movie or a reboot coming up soon, I think it's going to be a good thing. That is the end goal. You've got to start building up your Justice League, much like the Avengers in the MCU, I think, because Justice League is, or the Justice Society, if you want to go that route, which we're supposed to be getting in Black Adam and things like that, there are things in DC you've got to start building up to a little bit, even though your continuity is not the greatest right now. Hopefully you can get that back on track after the Flash movie releases next year. But the real question here is, guys, what do you guys think about all these movie news topics that came up today? Are you excited for Real Steel 2? Do you think Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds could be teaming up for a Netflix movie or just a Real Steel 2 movie in general? Are you excited for a Chronicle getting a sequel? Do you think it's necessary, or do you think it's something you want to see? What about the Hunger Games prequel? Are you excited about it shooting in 2022, or do you think that's a little bit unnecessary too? And of course, what are your thoughts on the fact that the Justice League could be getting a sequel / reboot after the Flash movie in 2022? Please comment down below. Let me know, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when I put up new content right here on this channel. And until my next video, guys, take care.